Hello everybody, Haku here with my review for Tower of God, Chapter 372, Season 2, Episode 292. Okay, got it. Man, for some reason, I feel like the more time I have done YouTube, the more it's gone along, the more difficult each and every time remembering the chapter and episode number for Tower of God is. I don't know why. It's like this skill that I initially had, but I've lost slowly over time. The opposite of building up an ability to do something. So yeah, for some reason I always like get down to the wire. Okay, flip on the recording, and then I'm like, crap, what's the chapter and episode? Yeah, 372, 292, 80 apart. Yeah, let's start off talking about this one. We got Zahard's attack on Maschenny at the beginning, because let's not even bother talking about the scene that we saw at the end of last episode. We get that at the beginning, that's normal. Zahard is attacking Maschenny, we already knew, but it's blocked by a shield, and the shield actually looks really cool. I like the design, though it doesn't stay around for long. It gets cracked after one hit. Akardi's ability is a spell that he can use to recreate rare items through speaking, so I guess he just says the ancient spell name or whatever for the item, and he can summon it, weave it together through language. But the shield is smashed just with that one hit. Maschenny's lightning spear gets caught by Zahard. Maschenny explains that on the outside, once she received this power, she wanted to fight Zahard. She wanted to test how far it could go and all that. But she's kind of destined to never be able to, because she's a princess of Zahard and has to be loyal to him. So here, at least in this form, as Dada Maschenny versus Dada Zahard, she can at least fight him here. So she says that she feels scared, but happy. And I love the artwork with that, and with most of the Zahard Maschenny stuff, the artwork was really, really good. And I guess I could just go ahead and extend that to, say, the entire chapter, because the stuff with Bomb later on, there were some really good-looking Bomb panels. But Maschenny activates a crazy, crazy lightning pill. Of course, a stepped-up version of what Ron can do, since Ron is a basically weaker Maschenny. He's the proto-Maschenny, the secondary Maschenny. But she was the original. Maybe one day he'll surpass her, but currently she has all these crazy moves that she came up with that Ron is just sort of has learned from her. Moving from there, Sachi's attack earlier was actually not really meant to hit Zahard at all, but it was a distraction so that he could also use the thorns to tunnel them a cave underground to get away or whatever. So that's going to be used by Boro's group to get out of here while the Kun siblings distract Zahard. Maschenny's attacks with the lightning pill are really cool, but they get completely shrugged off. I think they were too shrugged off for me. I don't think Zahard should struggle with her. Zahard is still meant to be this OP arc antagonist here. So I don't think he should just shrug off Maschenny like she's nothing. I don't think he should struggle. I'm not saying that, because he should still be plenty stronger than her, being an irregular. But she's within the top 100, so even if this is her data version, and even if the data version of Zahard here has gotten a power-up, possibly, from the real Zahard, I feel like she should have stood more of a chance. I mean, maybe at least gotten a hit off or two, even if that's all she could do before she gets swamped by Zahard's offense. It just seems like Siu maybe showed off too much of her offense without having it do anything impactful. So maybe that was the issue with it. But I'm not even really a huge negative. It's just something that my opinion is that I would have liked it to have been differently. But yeah, I don't really think it was that big a deal. We have this panel where it's the armor getting destroyed that Akardi is... We talk about it more in the Haku&A. There's going to be a long Tower of God section in the Haku&A that's probably going up a day after this, maybe even 2 days after this at the longest. So I would say, for more discussion on this, go to that, so that I don't discuss it ad nauseum here when I'm doing it both times. But yeah, it's armor summoned by Akardi. Seemingly, that's, I think, what most of us can assume it is, to try to protect her, getting destroyed by this dragon needle attack called Lecalicus. And it seems like the dragon is just like it's a part of the attack, but it's like a trail that follows his needle, kind of. The best thing I could use to compare it to is like, you know how sometimes in video games when you're swinging a weapon and you have like the effect, the little trail following it? I kind of feel like that's what this is for the needle, except it's an actual part of the attack. It wasn't really well explained or defined, we just see it visually. So Maschenny gets sent flying. Zahard's mask is torn in all this process though, and then we cut away from that for the rest of the chapter. Adlon, we get to see his side of things. He teleports the sworn enemies and Bomb's group around for the matchups that he wanted. So we have Bomb versus Kaseya, Kunenrak versus Viol, Andrasi and Barrow versus the pink-haired sworn enemy and the other one that looks kind of like a statue with wings or some kind of robot or something. And the reason, Adlon explains his reasoning, he says that this is still to test out your new abilities. If you're fighting your sworn enemy, I don't want the fact that the sworn enemy is like a counter to you or has this personal connection to you. I don't want that to distract you. I don't want you to be distracted from using your new abilities. So that's the reason that Adlon didn't match them up against their own sworn enemies, but against each other's. Then I love how Adlon can basically use electricity to talk over distances, either like a human radio, like he can throw his voice, or like a human megaphone, like he amplifies it, but they bring up that he has electricity in his voice, and that's how he's talking to them so easily from so far away. So he's basically like a human radio / megaphone. Then at the end, Bomb activates the thorn, turning it red, which I think is great. We get to see what it's like if he uses the two in conjunction. And the attacks he launches, I don't know if this is going to be a common thing, but it seemed like the attacks were larger but less in number. Like before, he shot a whole bunch of smaller bluish white Shinsu attacks, and now with the red Shinsu he shot maybe like 4 really big waves. So I don't know if that means that naturally when he uses the thorn he's going to have less attacks but they're going to be bigger. And it's more like he can fire off a bunch of smaller attacks when he's not using the thorn. I don't know if that's the way it's going to be or if he can control it either way, and I'm reading too far into nothing, but it was just something I noticed, a difference between the two thorn and non-thorn methods of using the orb. But yeah, I guess that's basically it. For the blog post, Siu says Maschenny is OP. He says that Zahard's main weapon is the needle. I think that's actually pretty cool. We get the King Zahard. We get his main weapon confirmed. He also mentions that this is kind of a defiant, childish Zahard that thinks he's above Maschenny. It's, I guess, not quite the same as his normal outside the tower personality. This is, I mean, we already kind of got that established. So yeah, this is kind of a different Zahard. But he says that the current orb is just the orb's basic form. This is the big thing for the blog this week, that this is just the orb's basic form, but it can be changed, and he's thinking about like maybe a skill tree for it or something, and I absolutely love that. I love that we could potentially see the orb take a bunch of different visual shapes. It's still going to be the orb, but we could see it look differently or have different purpose or function. I like that this is just a jumping off point, and this isn't something that's going to be okay for a few arcs and then Bomb's going to forget about it and move on and use other stuff. This is something that's going to grow as Bomb grows, and he's going to be able to use the orb in a lot of different ways. And them bringing up skill trees made me think I could see maybe like forms that support offense or support or even healing, depending on what it is that Bomb is trying to do. I could see that being something that he has to train for and learn in the future, is specialized forms for the orb. Tsiu also mentions, actually, this is another big one, that the orb is Bomb's first step to controlling Shinsu like magic. Of course, we've known from the beginning, Tsiu has built up Bomb as a striker-type wave controller. He's a wave controller that uses it not as, which is, well, not the more common support route with Shinsu control, but he does it the less common striker route. He uses it in attacks and to be sort of the head of the team and not stick back like a support wave controller would. So it's cool. We're actually going to see Bomb use Shinsu more like magic in the future, so I really, really like that. Chapter as a whole, just a few thoughts, I guess, at the end. I thought it was a great chapter. The art particularly is always good, but I thought it was really, really good this week. No pun intended, I thought the combat was hit or miss. Some stuff I thought looked really, really good, and that added into it a lot. Some stuff, like Zahard shrugging off Maschenny's attack, I wasn't as into, or like with some of the attacks, like the dragon needle thing and the armor breaking and all that. It ran into a common problem that I brought up in the live reaction, where sometimes in comics and manga, action panels, in any comics and manga, it's not saying anything negative of CU here, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell what's going on, because it's not like this fluid motion picture, it's just one solid picture, then another solid picture, and unless there's just so much put into it, and he did 1,000 panels showing off one move, sometimes it gets hard to tell exactly what's happening. And there's not really anything wrong with that. It's just a problem in general with trying to draw combat. It just doesn't always go over perfectly or flow perfectly. Sometimes you get kind of lost when you're reading it. Like I mentioned in the live reaction, another issue, like I have that issue with Boku no Hero Academia sometimes. Like I usually don't have that issue for One Piece. That's one where I can't think of times when I often have that. But there are plenty of times in Boku no Hero Academia where I have to go back a few times and look to figure out exactly what's happening in a certain action panel, because I'm not sure from the jump to this panel to that panel, how did they end up making that move, how'd they make that movement. So that was just, it was a little bit of that during the Zahard Maschenny exchange here. And yeah, I thought in addition to getting all that, there was good general development for the story moving forward. So yeah, I'd give it 9 insane lightning pills out of 10. I thought it was really good. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the video. So like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this week's chapter, what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more Tower of God, much more on the channel. Like I said, the Haku Q&A this week's going to have a really big Tower of God discussion, because I have comments from like the past like 2 or 3 weeks that I said, okay, these are good, these are still good, they haven't been outdated, and yeah, these are all good, and I want to talk about these and discuss these. There's probably going to be a good 20-30 minutes of discussion there, if not more. I'm going to record it all after this, and I'm honestly dreading, because I have 4 other, well, I'm not dreading it, it's going to be super fun to record, but I'm just thinking on my vocal cords, I have 4 other sections to record, and then I gotta record like 20 to possibly even 40 minutes of Tower of God. I'm gonna enjoy it, but it's gonna be a lot of talking, and I know by the end of the video my voice is gonna be completely gone. So yeah, follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. And if you want a link to our Discord server to talk with me, more of us there, then ask and I can give you a link to that. So that's it, I guess. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.